Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, the President again is absent from the Federal Executive Council meeting. Minister of Information says the President has been transparent about his health status. More trouble for the suspended SGF. The Senate committee opens another can of worms. Says Babachir Lawal spent 530 million naira on grass cutting in Yobe State. Customs boss meets House of Representatives committee, complains of inability to implement federal government policies on revenue collection. And South African President Jacob Zuma unruffled after being booed off stage at a rally in Bloemfontein.
And in business news tonight, Nigerian farmers commence repayment of loans accessed under the central bank's Anchor Borrowers Program.
On sports news tonight, 22 goals scored on day 2 as 16 schools progress to the next round of the Lagos preliminaries of the Channel's National Kids Cup.
And from Abuja, the European Union is bothered about the increase in illegal drug trade in the country, asks the Nigerian government to step up control measures.
The presidency has denied reports in some sections of the media that the president is incapacitated. This clarification follows the absence of President Muhammadu Buhari for the third time at the Federal Executive Council weekly meeting. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, told State House correspondents that President Buhari decided not to attend the meeting in order to take some time to rest based on the advice of his doctors.
Unlike last week, the Federal Executive Council meeting had a full attendance. The Vice President, Yemi Oshibajo, ministers, top government functionaries and journalists were at the council chambers in expectation of the President to preside over the meeting. According to the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, the President has been asked to take further rest.
He was in the office yesterday, as you all reported. And if the doctor says, oh, take a rest, I think you recover faster when you rest when you ought to rest, rather than by forcing yourself to work when you are not fit to work. So I think all he's doing is following the doctor's advice.
He also denied reports that President Buhari is critically ill to the point of being fed his meals.
It's absolutely untrue that he's being fed.
Meanwhile, the federal government has approved the appointment of a transitional advisor to kickstart the process of having a national carrier and concession of the nation's airport.
Now today in council, we took the memo for the appointment of those transitional advisors to carry out the advisory service on establishment of national carrier, establishment of aviation leasing company, establishment of maintenance, repair and overhaul center, establishment of an aerotropolis, or airport city as we may call it, and then of course the concession of our airports.
The council equally approved the construction of Odupani-Ikotepene Road at the cost of 54 billion naira.
Award of the Odupani.
According to the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, the road constructed over 40 years ago has outlived its usefulness.
It is consistent with the promise of the administration to improve the growth and the performance of the economy by reducing journey time, the cost of doing business, and the ease of transport, and so on and so forth, and also create jobs that would arise from the period of the construction.
The council also approved the completion of abandoned water projects across the country. Gloria Umezuke, Channel Television News.
A report from the Senate committee investigating the humanitarian crisis in the Northeast has alleged that the presidential initiative for the Northeast awarded a sum of 530 million naira for removal of invasive plant species along river channels in Yobe State. The chairman of the ad hoc committee, Senator Shehu Sani, presented the report which detailed its findings from investigations into the humanitarian crisis and the role of the Presidential Committee on the Northeast. Our correspondent, Linda Kigbe, reports.
The interim report on the humanitarian crisis set off a series of events which cumulatively led to the suspension of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Babachir Lawal. The committee has concluded its investigations and the chairman is presenting the report to the Senate.
The stereotype thinking was that the invasive plants were cleared for 272, but in actual sense, it is 530 million naira was used to clear grasses. You can imagine how grass costs in Nigeria. That the Presidential Initiative on Northeast took undue advantage of the provisions of Emergency Situation Contract Award in the Public Procurement Act 2007 to inflate contracts. Also, contracts were awarded to companies belonging to top government officials, cronies, and close associates. For example, Roller Vision Engineering, incorporated in 1990 with RC number 159855 at Corporate Affairs Commission, Abuja, to carry out information technology services anchored by Engineer David Lawal.
The committee also discovered that since it was established, the Presidential Initiative for the Northeast was paying less attention to the critical needs of internally displaced persons, as a bulk of resources were used for issues that did not address the immediate needs of internally displaced persons. Rather, it was spent on issues that took care of the interest of the officials and associates.
None of the bidders of all the contracts awarded by Pine possesses the mandatory requirement stipulated in Section 16 of the Public Procurement Act 2007 and were therefore not eligible to participate in procurement processes.
The Senate recommends that relevant agencies should investigate why contract benefiting companies paid over 500 million naira into Roller Vision Engineering Limited, a company in which Mr. Babachir Lawal has interest in.
From there, I move into the civil service.
Meanwhile, the Senate has confirmed Mr. Stephen Ucheni from Kogi State and Mr. Sulaiman Hassan from Gombe State as ministers. The Senate confirmed them after their screening by lawmakers. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu has raised an alarm over an alleged plot by a cabal in the presidency using the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to remove him from office with false allegations of corruption. Senator Ekweremadu leveled the accusation at plenary on Wednesday when he read a letter which he says was written to him by an anonymous Nigerian who said he was part of the plot. He said the plot, which was to be executed on the 6th and 7th of May, includes a search on a prearranged building in Enugu, which the EFCC would claim to be his own, with foreign currencies and other indicting documents planted and displayed for the media.
The interim report on the humanitarian crisis set off a series of events which cumulatively led to the suspension of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Babachir Lawal.
They said that on the 6th of May, Saturday night, that's Saturday coming, 2017/Sunday morning, the EFCC, alongside with local and international media, both print and TV, radio, will raid an apartment under the guise of whistleblowing policy of the federal government, with search warrants already obtained in the magistrate court to search an apartment alleging to be one of your guest houses in Enugu capital state or any stable available apartment in your senatorial district that will serve this evil purpose. EFCC claiming to have received a tip-off from a whistleblower in your state alerting the agency of a large, huge amount of money of different currency in the state apartment belonging to you, Senator Ekweremadu, Deputy Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. A proceed which is likely to be illegally obtained and acquired, which constitutes abuse of office with corruption. The distinguished senator will be invited by the anti-graft agency for questioning and interrogation to shed more light on the said apartment, which will lead to your arrest and detention pending the outcome of the investigation. While you are still in detention, well-sponsored non-governmental organizations will be protesting around the nation, Lagos, Enugu, Anambra, FCT, Abuja. While protests ongoing according to their evil plan, the FCC, after detaining you at least 3 weeks, you will be charged to court since Section 308, immunity clause, do not apply to your office. Their target is to indict you and kill your political ambition so that you can no longer stand for any future election.
Staying with the story, the EFCC has firmly denied knowledge of any plot to set up the Deputy Senate President, saying such antiques are alien to the Commission. In a statement signed by its spokesperson, Mr. Wilson Owujering, the anti-graft agency referred to the alarm raised by Senator Ekweremadu, alleging plots to plant monies and guns in his residence. He says the Commission is worried that the Deputy Senate President would go public with such a claim without first double-checking with the agency. The statement adds, once again, the alleged plot by EFCC to raid Senator Ekweremadu's house on May 6, 2017 exists only in the very fertile imagination of the distinguished Deputy Senate President's questionable source, whom he claims is close to the EFCC. Mr. Owujering goes on to say the Commission does not need any plot to arrest Senator Ekweremadu to arrest and prosecute him if he's found to have violated any law the EFCC enforces. Away from the lawmakers in crime and criminality, the Comptroller General of the Nigeria Customs Service, Colonel Hamid Ali, has blamed the negative effect of some federal government trade and economic policies for inability of the service to meet its 2016 revenue target of 937 billion naira. Colonel Ali stated this position while appearing before the House of Representatives Committee on Customs and Excise to review the 2016 budget performance of the service and defend its 2017 budget. The lawmakers were also made to understand that no revenue has been collected through the levy on luxury items, as there is no legal backing to enforce the collection of the proposed levy.
Some government deliberate trade and economic policies also negate the collection of the revenue that we are supposed to. If you recall, we have in the last budget also mentioned the 41 items which are now exempted from or excluded from accessing forex through the central bank. That policy has reduced by quite a percentage the importation of items into this country. And collection, as far as the law is concerned, is on import, and the lesser the import, the lesser the collection. So that has also negatively affected the collection of import tariff. Champagne. All these, those of us who are very good in buying Remy Martins and champagne drinks, those are luxury goods that are being levied, are supposed to be levied if the policy is pronounced by government or there's a legal instrument that now says we should collect. But in the absence of that legal instrument or government policy that mandates custom to collect, we have to allow you to come in.
International human rights group Amnesty International is asking the federal government to protect the right to the freedom of expression and press freedom in Nigeria. In a statement, the group condemns what it describes as a growing intolerance of press freedom, which it says manifests in the arrest of journalists and intimidation of bloggers, as well as excessive use of force in cracking down on peaceful protests by Nigerians. It says that these actions violate international human rights law and the Nigerian Constitution.
Journalists round the clock brave tough conditions and risky environments, exposed to the most dangerous of situations to gather information.
Put our hands together for our please.
Against the backdrop of the 2017 World Press Freedom Day, the European Union and other stakeholders address issues regarding conflicts of interest and physical violence, acts which trample on a freedom that should, in principle, serve to make the government transparent and accountable.
You have to protect your freedoms. That is something that you have to guard very jealously. Journalists are being killed, journalists are being arrested, and we very much think that the state should protect the freedom of the press freedom, the freedom of expression and information in this country.
We will now talk about the problem arising from such work of the media in making people accountable. There are people who react negatively to the work of the media by taking the laws into their hands, by encouraging impunity against the press, which we all condemn, because the press, the media, is critical to good governance.
Latest statistics on the Freedom of the Press Index revealed by Amnesty International pegs Nigeria at 122 out of 180 countries.
You've seen that there's been a number of arrests, a number of reports of intimidation and attacks against journalists or their person. So it means now we are seeing a situation where the press actually also censor themselves and the reports they produce for fear of repercussions either by politicians or by state authorities and security forces. And this
in part two after the break, several houses are burnt in Ajapa Creek community in Ondo State as the military continues mop-up exercise after gun battle with militants in the area. Do join us again.